Welcome to Dare to Soar with your host, Dr. RC. Dr. RC will empower, encourage, and strengthen you. She will help you to soar to your highest potential while instilling hope. Please welcome the host of Dare to Soar, Dr. RC.
Great Saturday morning, everyone. But let me give a little caveat before I delve into what I'm going to be talking about this morning by saying Happy National Social Work Month, as well as National School Social Work Week, leading into School Social Work Week that starts on tomorrow, actually Sunday. It's a full week long. And that today is going to be specifically what I will be tuning into this morning. I am Dr. RC, your host, and yes, you are listening to Dare to Soar, coming to you live from the BBM Global Network and TuneIn Radio. Oh my gosh, what an exhilarating conversation we are about to have, because as you know, this is a subject that's near and dear to me, but I love bringing you pertinent information each and every week. Now, with that being said, the title for this morning is Elevating the Future of School Social Work, Bridging the Gap Between Academia and Practice. Now, with that being said, I'd like to begin by introducing one of my first guests. As you can see, I have three this morning. Professor Patrina Fowler is a certified school social worker with over 28 years of experience in the field of school social work, or the field of social work. She is distinguished by her exceptionality, by her exceptional community service and leadership abilities. As a dedicated leader, Patrina has significantly impacted the community, positively influencing the lives of hundreds of students and their families. She is deeply committed in various local initiatives focused on supporting children and families in need. In addition to her work as a social worker, Patrina has spent the last 12 years as an adjunct professor at Kennesaw State University, where she teaches courses in human services and social work. Her greatest profession aspiration is to create a lasting, positive, and impactful impression on the lives of those that she is serving, as well as others that are involved with them as well. She earned a Bachelor of Arts degree in psychology from Norfolk State University and master's in social work from the University of Maryland. She also pursued a doctorate in clinical psychology at Augusta University. Furthermore, she is an active member of several professional organizations, including National Association of Social Workers, NASW, the Georgia Association of Educators, GAE, the School Social Work Association of America, which is SWAB, and the School Social Workers Association of Georgia, SWAG, where she serves on the executive board. Welcome this morning, Mrs., or should I say Professor Fowler.
Thank you so much. Good morning.
Good morning. I want to delve right into this because, oh my gosh, with everything going on in society today, this is we always feel it's an untapped resource. So I'm going to leave that there and begin by asking you, how would you be able to share your journey into academia and what led you to specialize in school social work?
Well, my journey started in academia back in 2013, and it's just been really deeply personal and a transformative experience for me. You know, growing up, I always had a passion for helping others, and particularly children, and I was just inspired by my own school experiences and the significant impact that other supportive educators and coaches had on me. And so that led me to pursue my undergraduate degree in psychology, where I really just got a really good foundation about child development and mental health. And then during that time, I spent some time volunteering at a local community center working with at-risk youth. And that experience really opened my eyes to some of the many challenges that students face with regards to, socioeconomic barriers, to emotional struggles. And I realized the critical role that social workers would play in advocating for and supporting these students. And so that just drove me to continue my education to look into a master's in social work. And I was particularly drawn to school social work because I was just fascinated, by the idea of working within the educational system to address not just those academic issues, but also social and emotional challenges that sometimes hinder, students' learning. And so all of that coupled together, that academic journey just kind of fueled me really by the desire to empower students and, promote their well-being. So, yeah, that's kind of how that journey started.
And what a fuel it is, and a fuel that we need. Guys, 1-866-451-1451 is the call-in number. Now, as you know, I always tell you to get those notebooks and pencils, pens ready, etc., whatever your comfort is, to hold in your hands to take those copious notes. We are on YouTube Live, Facebook Live, Instagram as well, and LinkedIn. If you just tap into Bold Brave Media, you will see us live doing this show this morning. Professor Perla, I'm going to come back to you again. I'm going to start my segment of questions with you, and then I'm going to delve into these phenomenal students as well. So, in your experience, and I know this may be a loaded question, so I'm going to preface it before I ask it. How has the field of social work evolved over the years, and what are the pressing challenges professionals face today?
Ooh, well, school social work has really evolved significantly over time, moving from a focus on primarily addressing basic needs and family issues to a more comprehensive approach that really includes, mental health support, crisis intervention, advocacy for marginalized students, as well as for the profession as a whole, and really, addressing systemic issues within the school environment, with the most pressing and current challenges being, a rising prevalence of mental health concerns, navigating some of the complex social issues like racial trauma, and LGBTQ plus rights. And then also having to manage high caseloads amidst, limited resources. And then we don't even want to get into the current political climate and the impact that that is having on everybody. So there are lots of challenges with regards to the profession, and it definitely has evolved a great deal over time. So
Which actually is a phenomenal segue into this next question that I have for you, which is, as you spoke about the mental health, how do you ensure that your curriculum reflects the realities of working in schools, particularly regarding mental health, equity, and family engagement?
yeah, so one of the big things is really incorporating um, current research and staying updated on research and best practices related to mental health and equity in education as well. This really helps me to ensure, that the curriculum addresses the latest challenges and strategies that are, relevant in these areas. Also engaging with stakeholders, that is vital in our profession, and with regards to working in schools and focusing on mental health equity and family engagement. So, I actively seek input from, all of my stakeholders, including teachers, counselors, families, community partners, to help understand their experience and their perspective. And then their insights really provide some valuable context and kind of help identify specific topics that need to be included in my coursework. And then integrating real world scenarios. I include case studies and scenarios that really reflect the diverse expectations and experiences of students and the families that I serve. And this really helps to kind of ground the curriculum in the realities of the school environment and foster meaningful discussions in the classroom. I mean, I could go on and on about collaborating with mental health professionals, focusing on mental health awareness, promoting inclusive practices. We could spend a whole day talking about this. So
Oh gosh, we certainly can. I thank you for those questions. I don't want to pull on you too much, but I am going to circle back around to you because I have some deep delve things. I want to, ladies and gentlemen that are tuned in, and those who will hear the playback as well. When I tell you this is a much needed conversation when we speak about this field, especially this month, but every day, because it impacts our children that are being served. It impacts our families, our communities as well. And it is so critical as we talk about the elevating future of school social work. And why did I specifically hone in on school social work? It's because it's the foundation. We know that no matter where you go, you have to tap into some type of education. I'm just going to drop you that little carrot there. But more importantly, bridging academia and practice is also critically important as well. I want to tap into our students, or one of my students that I have. But before I get there, I want to just give you a little bit of background about her. Her name is Miss Eunice Davis. She's currently an advanced standing master's social work student, MSW, at Kennesaw State University. She earned her bachelor's of social work, BSW, and I'm giving you these acronyms so you can, you know, delve into the conversation or tap in as well. Degree from the University of Georgia. While pursuing her undergraduate degree at UGA, she completed a year-long internship with Advantage Behavior Health System in Athens, operating as a discharge coordinator to Crisis Stabilization Unit. She is currently fulfilling her specialty year-long internship with Cobb County School System or Cobb County School District as she serves 2 elementary schools and 1 early learning center in Mableton, Georgia. Ms. Davis, welcome to the show this morning.
Thank you so much for having me.
Absolutely, absolutely. Now, I want to ask you this question, but we may have to break for a commercial. And if we do, that's okay. We'll pause and then come back to it. But what inspired you to pursue social work as your area of focus?
Well, going off a little bit of what Professor Fowler said, I've also always had a really strong calling to working with children and families. I've just had a huge heart for children. And now, as an emerging young adult, when I got my BSW, I started thinking, okay, how do I want to utilize this degree? Where do I feel like I can make the most impactful step and mark on just bringing new generations in and just being a participant and a good citizen? And so when I reflected on my public education years, those years really molded me into who I am today. And so I thought, well, I think schools would be a great place to start. And so with my internship opportunity through Kennesaw State, I've really enjoyed working with Cobb County School District. It's really geared me and given me so many tools. And I'm just really trying to become the best social worker that I can be. And I'm really enjoying it a lot.
Outstanding. I love that. Love that. Love that. Thank you for responding in such an eloquent manner as well. It has been This work has been truly phenomenal. And I say that for me and my journey as I delve into this. But certainly, I love to bring in students when it is time to have these conversations to talk about this work as well. So, thank you for being a part of this conversation and sharing it. But that's not all. So, guys, trust me when I tell you, she does have more to share. 1-866-451-1451. Now, it is almost time for commercial break, but I do want to share information about my third guest, who is a student also. So I'm going to read her bio and then we're going to pause for commercial and come back. But let me give you some background from her. Miss Andrea Rodriguez is a dedicated first generation Mexican Honduran student pursuing a BA in Human Services with a concentration in social engagement and advocacy with a minor in child advocacy at Kennesaw State University. As a school social work intern with Cobb County School District, she supports students, teachers, and social workers in addressing emotional, behavior, and social challenges impacting student success. Hold on to that. Remember that. Her passion for Latino youth empowerment shines through her work at La Amistad, where she provided bilingual academic support, and her internship at the Latin American Association, assisting immigrant families with emergency aid, and government benefits. But also, she's committed to social justice, also led her to Paris, where she collaborated with refugee organizations on shelter and advocacy initiatives. Fluent in Spanish and English, Andrea strives to create inclusive school environments where all students feel heard, supported, and empowered. She aspires to advocate for immigrant families and ensure they have access to the resources needed to thrive in school and beyond. It's important that we know all of these young ladies' backgrounds. Professor Fowler has been in this field, as you heard, for a while, but I also, and I can't say this enough, it's important to hear from the students who we're leading into this work. Now, with that being said, I want you to hold on to that. It is time for commercial. Don't you dare go away. We will be right back.
Dr. RC, will share extraordinary resources and services that promote educational success, as well as making a difference in the lives of all social workers, as well as the lives of children, adolescents, and teens of today. She will have open discussions addressing many of the issues that we face about our youth and how being employed in the uniquely skilled profession of social work for over 18 years has taught invaluable lessons through her personal experiences. She will also provide real-life facts, examples, and personal stories that will confirm that why serving as a child advocate is extremely beneficial when addressing the needs of the whole child. Listen live to Dare to Soar, Saturdays 10 a.m. Eastern on the BBM Global Network and TuneIn Radio, as Dr. RC will provide thought-provoking information that will empower, encourage, and strengthen students, families, and communities across our nation. You can also visit her at soarwithkatie.com.
Oh gosh, happy Saturday again. Great Saturday morning. All of that good stuff. Welcome back. It's me, Dr. RC. And yes, this is Dare to Soar, coming to you live from the BBM Global Network at TuneIn Radio. Pull your friends into this conversation. If they don't know about social work, specifically school social work, I have individuals here who are ready and prepared to answer your questions. I have these two wonderfully esteemed students, Miss Eunice Davis and Miss Andrea Rodriguez, and Professor Katrina Fowler. Guys, this is a conversation you don't want to miss. Elevating the future of school social work, bridging the gap, or I said bridging academia and practice, and that's what it's all about. Before the break, I shared Ms. Rodriguez's bio with you. So I'm going to delve right back in with this question for her. How has your academic training prepared you for the challenges of working in school settings?
So my time at Kennesaw State Human Service Program has shaped my understandings of school social work. I've taken courses like child development, trauma-informed care, and social work ethics. These taught me how students' struggle often stem from home and community issues like mental health, family accessibility, or socioeconomic barriers. What really brought everything to life was when my with Miss Katrina Fowler. She was my professor first, and later was my supervisor during my internship at Cobb County. She didn't just teach us from the textbook. She made us every class feel like we were already in the field. She brought us real cases that she was working on and laid us out for us and asked, if you were the school social worker, what would you do? So it wasn't just about the right answer. It was thinking about tough decisions, exploring perspectives, and seeing social work in action. Week after week, she'll update us on real cases, showing us what worked, what didn't work, and why. That experience has made everything feel real in no way no textbook could. So when I started my internship at Cobb County, I felt like I was stepping into a role that I've been preparing for all along. I got to work directly with students, families, dealing with health insecurity, academic struggles, and behavioral challenges. Every conversation, every meeting, every moment in that role reminded me why I chose this path. What I've learned is that school social work isn't just about knowing policies or connecting students to success. It's about meeting people where they are, understanding their struggles, and figuring out how to help. That actually makes a difference. Thank you to my time at KSU and everything I learned in her class. I feel ready to take on the challenges of this field and truly advocate for students in need.
Now, I'm going to hold you to all of that you just said. So remember that. But also, I want to highlight this because I really want to continue digging in this conversation. Ms. Rodriguez provided great nuggets. I like to call them golden nuggets because each time she was dropping one, it was about how school social workers tap into children. And with that, as you recall the words that she said, and I'm not going to go through each one because that's why I'm telling you to take those notes, but you can get the playback too. But academic success is well connected through the work that we do. Each item that she touched on, if you're not feeling well, if you're not able to get up and pull yourself together, if there's a lack of understanding on the other end, said administrators, etc., about how a child is feeling, how can there be academic success? That's Dr. RC's tip for the day. Not really. I have more, but I want you to hold on to that. I want to switch back over to you, Ms. Davis, by asking you, what aspects of school social work are you most excited about, and what concerns do you have as you prepare to enter this field?
I think the aspect that I'm most excited about is just building really long-standing, strong relationships with students, parents, teachers, just the community that I'll be working in. I love people, and I really just see the value in good connection. And so just being able to do my part in a community, do my part for families, do my part for students so that they can really learn how to just take their own lives and just go with it and thrive. That's really what just makes me happy and just brings me joy. Going into some concerns, I think my biggest one would probably just be just the sheer demand for social work services. Um, every child deserves one-on-one attention. They deserve to be intervened with correctly and amply, consistently. And I think it's just broken my heart of hearts that that's just not a reality. But I'm not afraid. I'm I'm so determined every single day. I mean, I love this field so much, and I love these students that I work with. I love the community that I'm in, even though it's very different from mine, being from Ackworth, Georgia, and now working in Mableton. But I've been invited and welcomed, and I love these communities. And so I think just the concern is just the reality that, yes, the student to social work ratio is very vast. But despite that, I'm really entering this field with a deep commitment to making a difference. And so that's really what keeps me going.
I love it. I love it. And I love that you put it out there openly that you're not afraid. Doing this work, fear cannot be allowed to step in because fear stagnates you. It causes you to be like in a freeze. If you ever play freeze tag and they tell you to freeze, we don't have time to freeze. We're it. So when they tag you and say you're it, we have to keep with that momentum. Keep going. We are it. Oh gosh, you can tell I love this. I love this. I love this. So I want to continue on with this conversation. Ms. Rodriguez, how do you envision integrating advocacy and policy work into your future career as a school social worker?
I believe advocacy and policy work are essential to creating lasting change in school social work. Many students challenge immigration concerns, mental health access, socioeconomic barriers. Those stem from systemic issues that need solutions beyond individual support. So I'm especially passionate about supporting immigrant students, especially those facing with DACA uncertainties or first generation challenges. During my internship at Cobb County, I saw how fear or instability affects students' well-being and academic success. That experience strengthened my commitment to advocating for school-based mental health services, bilingual resources, and protection so immigrant students or any students can focus on their education without the stress or fear. I also support more funding for school social workers as many professionals are overworked. So by working with district leaders, policymakers, or community organizations, I hope to increase resources and expand school social workers in services in school. School social workers aren't just supporters, we're change makers. We see system gaps daily, and it's our job to push for policies that give students the best chance to succeed. Advocacy will be a core part of my career, whether through policy work, legislation efforts, or school based initiatives. So, yeah.
I'm so glad that you are pouring into that advocacy piece because that is so key. And I know that your professor has taught you on so many different levels about that advocacy piece. And it is so evident that it is needed. Our voices are our volume. When we turn down our voices, we're turning down our volume. So I would dare to say, hint, hint, I would dare to say that the volume needs to be on at all times at the highest level possible. Because for so many years, this profession has been silent and lie dormant. And we don't have time for that. On that note, it is time for a commercial break. Don't you go away. I promise to be back with more.
Did you know that your beliefs create your entire reality, but it's the subconscious beliefs that do most of the creating? Belief shifter and life coach Shiraz can help you identify those limiting beliefs and eliminate them, often in a single session.
Like it was almost instant. Like I had relief right away.
Creating better health, relationships, careers, and finances. Let Shiraz help you step out of safety and into awareness.
Definitely something's happening. It's like a flow inside. It feels good.
Whether in person or online, Shiraz provides personal coaching, belief shifting. Visit Shiraz at energeticmagic.com or call 416-529-7429. Energetic Magic on the BBM Global Network, Tuesdays at 7 p.m. Eastern. Find your greater happiness. Be well. Be aware. Be magical.
Welcome back once again. Oh, yes, this is Dare to Soar, and I am Dr. RC, your host, coming to you live from the BBM Global Network and TuneIn Radio. I know that you're enjoying this conversation. How could you not? The energy that everyone is bringing to this conversation and how we're tapping into reality-based information. And why? Because we're talking about our students, families, and communities. You're hearing from Professor Patrina Fowler and then two MSW students as well, Miss Eunice Davis and Miss Andrea Rodriguez, who are bringing the noise, I will say, as they respond to these questions. I want to shift back to you, Professor Fowler. Now, as they have both eloquently responded to the questions about envisioning and what aspects, this is the question I'd like to pose for you because they talked about advocacy and not being afraid. How do you incorporate DEIJB, diversity, equity, inclusion, justice, and belonging into the training of education of educating future school social workers?
Well, it really starts with curriculum development. So, including some specific course assignments and modules that really focus on DEIJB principles. So, discussing some of the historical context, systemic inequalities, and the experiences of marginalized groups. This really helps future school social workers to kind of understand, the broader societal factors that affect students. Also, highlighting and focusing on culturally responsive training, and making sure to emphasize, culturally responsive practices, but also, helping students to understand not just cultural competence and practices, but also cultural humility, and that really means kind of teaching future school social workers how to recognize and respect cultural backgrounds of students and families, but also adapting to their own approaches when we talk about, meeting students' diverse needs. And then lastly, incorporating guest speakers and collaborators into the classroom setting to present to my students. So, inviting guest speakers from various backgrounds, including community leaders and advocates to kind of share their own insights and their experiences. And then collaborating with organizations that specialize in this work. So specializing in DEIJB, they can also provide, valuable resources and framework for my students.
I love that. I love it. And it's key. And Ellen, I'm so happy that you shared that you're bringing in outside entities. That exposure is very key to them learning what is going on. And every side of the house does not look the same. We don't live in glass houses, and that's the truth. So if someone tries to break it, there are lines that go everywhere. And it's the same thing in life. We all don't look the same. We all don't act the same. And we have to be respectful of that as well. So thank you very much for your leadership as being a professor and your willingness to bring in the information that's needed as these two individuals, along these two young ladies, as well as all the students that are impacted as well. Thank you so much for that. Okay, ladies, I am Miss Davis and Miss Rodriguez. I am back to you both again. And this question is for both of you. Now you've shared that you've worked in the school settings. So with that being said, what have been your biggest takeaways? So Ms. Davis, I'm going to turn to you first for that question.
Okay. Let's see. I think my biggest takeaway is that I think when working with a student or a parent who's maybe in crisis, you can't step ahead more than they're able to take on at that time. I think when I've dealt with parents and students in crisis so far, they're coming to me sometimes as a last resource. They've had a lot of closed doors shut in their face. They've had a lot of no's, and they're usually in a state of disarray. And so what I do is I comfort them, I validate their feelings, their emotions, I hear them out. And sometimes, even though we're problem solvers in this field, it's not always the most appropriate time to try and solve something at that time. And so I've really learned that in my groove with social work, I just really want to see the individual for who they are, to hear them, to give them this safe space and this environment so that then when they're ready and when they're able, I can help them and hold their hand in trying to come and find, right answers and an open door. And so I've really learned that and ran with it. And I think I've built a lot of rapport and trust with these families. And that's what's been most important to me.
Thank you. Thank you so much. I love that. Guys, 1-866-451-1451. I'm telling you, they are sharing so much knowledge this morning. Those golden nuggets, I like to say. So, Ms. Rodriguez, I'm going to turn to you with that same question. Please respond. Biggest takeaways.
So, one of my biggest takeaways is that building trust is key. Many students and parents are hesitant to seek help, whether due to stigma, culture barriers, or fear of judgment. I learned that taking time to listen, validate their experiences, and connecting to the right support system makes a huge difference. Another major lesson was the importance of teamwork. School social workers don't work in isolation. We partner with teachers, counselors, administration, community organizations to provide the best possible support for students. During my internship, I saw how effective teamwork can help address issues throughout LEE, ensuring that students receive not just academic help, but also emotional and social support. Lastly, I realized how overburdened school social workers are. Many are responsible for hundreds of students across multiple schools, making it difficult to provide one-on-one attention. So overall, my field experience confirmed that this is the work I want to do, and there is a lot of challenges and takeaways. So helping students overcome barriers and stuff like that. Yeah.
Thank you both. To sum both your responses, I love the way, in different ways, you responded to say social work is a no judgment zone. And I have to say that so loudly. Individuals who are not in this field, working in this field each and every day, know that when they come to school social workers for assistance, guidance, a response to a question, or just simply to have an ear, it is a no judgment zone. We are here to support you and to give you back all those things, but also, as they responded, empowering them as well so they can move about their day and have, that know-how to do things on their own independently as well. Ms. Rodriguez, with that being said, I'm coming back to you again. In what ways do you feel your generation of social workers will bring about change in this field?
So, my generation of social workers is driving real change by prioritizing mental health, inclusivity, and in innovation in schools. We know that mental health is just as important as academics. Students can't learn if they're struggling emotionally. That's why we're pushing for accessible counseling, trauma-informed care, mental health education, making sure students get the support that they need to succeed. We're also committed to diversity, equity, and inclusion. Many of us come from multicultural backgrounds and have seen firsthand the barriers marginalized students face. We're advocating for bilingual services, cultural competent staff, and policies that support immigration, LGBT plus communities, and low income students, ensuring that every student has a fair chance to thrive. Technology is also a game changer. We're using data, digital tools to track students' needs, connect families to resources, and push for policy change faster than ever. Social media amplifies our voices, allowing us to raise awareness and drive action on students that impact students every day.
I love that. And with that, it's a great segue. Professor Fowler, I want to shift back to you after that response. And it would be, oh, they're telling me it's a commercial break. But when I return, when I return, I want to ask you about what are some of the gaps in social work education that need to be addressed to better prepare students for the realities of school-based practice. It is time for a commercial break. I will ask that question again, guys. I promise. Don't go away. We'll be right back.
Author, radio show host, and coach John M. Hawkins reveals strategies to help gain perspective, build confidence, find clarity, achieve goals. John M. Hawkins' new book, Coached to Greatness, Unlock Your Full Potential with Limitless Growth, published by iUniverse. Hawkins reveals strategies to help readers accomplish more. He believes the book can coach them to greatness. Hawkins says that the best athletes get to the top of their sport with the help of coaches, mentors, and others. He shares guidance that helps readers reflect on what motivates them, rediscover and assess their core values, philosophies, and competencies, find settings that allow them to be the most productive, and track their progress towards accomplishing goals. Listen to John Hawkins' My Strategy, Saturdays, 1 p.m. Eastern on the BBM Global Network and TuneIn Radio.
Welcome back once again. Yes, this is Dare to Soar, and I am Dr. RC, your host. Oh gosh, what are we talking about? School social work and bridging the gap in academia and practice. Elevating. Keep thinking of that word, elevating, bridging. And that's about connections. And what better way to make a connection than speaking with a college professor in the field of social work, Miss Patrina Fowler, and two MSW students, Miss Eunice Davis and Miss Andrea Rodriguez. 1-866-451-1451. Now, right before the break, I was getting ready to ask, or I did ask Professor Fowler, what are some of the gaps in social work education? So I just want to share that again, that need to be addressed to better prepare students for the realities of school-based practice.
Well, I would say there are many gaps when we talk about social work education and how we better prepare students. Many programs just lack sufficient hands-on training opportunities, in real school environments. And so what I'm finding is that right now, one of the classes that I'm teaching is a school social work course. And many of those students are not placed in schools and don't have access to school social workers. And so they're not able to get that practical experience needed to help better prepare them for being in a school and understanding the realities of school-based practice. So more field placements in diverse educational settings clearly is going to help students to kind of understand the many complexities that we face as school social workers. The other thing is, interdisciplinary collaboration. Students don't often receive enough training on working collaboratively with educators and administrators and mental health professionals, really emphasizes and focusing on that teamwork and communication skills is just so crucial for effective practice when we talk about working in the school setting. Also, trauma-informed care. There's a growing need for training on trauma-informed practices to better support our students and their experiences with regards to various trauma. Understanding the impact of, adverse childhood experiences. So focusing on those ACEs is essential in school settings. And I don't think in social work education that they focus on that enough and talk about that enough. And then also, I go back to cultural competence and cultural humility. And again, with this current administration, I think we're going to get further and further away from that. But social work education should place a greater focus on cultural competence and cultural humility and really addressing issues of systemic racism, which largely impact many of our students. Policy and advocacy goes back to that. I mean, that's a huge one. I think a lot of times these social work education programs don't place focus at all on understanding educational policies and teaching students advocacy strategies and grassroots organizing, which is so vitally important. And I think over these next 4 years, we're going to see how important that advocacy is going to be. And that knowledge is just vital for social workers really, really aiming to influence systemic changes within school systems. Again, something I could go on and on and on and on. I know we're on the time schedule, so there's so many gaps. I feel like that.
Oh gosh. Yes. And I thank you for that. And I feel like, I feel a commercial or a PSA coming on, especially when you talk about advocacy. And it is so, so true. It seems like a very small word, but it has such power behind it, I don't want to get caught up because my time is going by so quickly. So I want to go back to Ms. Davis by asking, what additional training or preparation do you believe would benefit MSW students before entering school social work?
I think for this question, I think there are three that come to mind for me. First and foremost, just learning and understanding the education system itself. Just because you've gone through it does not mean that it's the same. And so I think students should really be encouraged to read up on policies, learn what 504 plans are, IEPs, Individuals with Disabilities Education Act or IDEA. That would really help MSW students become more prepared, more competent about the system that they're walking into. I think a lot of students think just because they've gone through school that it's very casual, that they could just walk back in as an adult as they practically did as children, and that's just not the case. They're now responsible, and they are now the adult in school, and so it's definitely a whole nother role that they have to take on. Second, I think crisis intervention would be incredibly valuable. Unfortunately, within the MSW sphere, I think it's a buzzword for just more behavioral health concerns, but crises happen in schools all the time, whether or not that's with your behavior, mental health, child welfare, and safety. And so students need to be prepared, and they need to learn techniques and strategies that would be beneficial to helping students and teachers and admin that are battling crises. And then lastly, I think maybe exposure to marginalized communities would be helpful as well. Many students, they face challenges such as poverty, food insecurity, lack of access to mental health resources. That's just across the state, across the country. And students shouldn't be surprised. And maybe it would help to just kind of digress that shock factor that maybe some of them do face when they meet a child that maybe hasn't eaten or doesn't have the right clothes on their back. And so it would really help them to learn the systemic problems that we're facing and just help their ability to provide more holistic support.
I love that. And I love the way that you closed it out with systemic problems. What a great way to close that out. Didn't I tell you guys they were going to be dropping some nuggets? They have dropped nuggets for you today. What an astounding conversation that I'm having with all three of my guests this morning. I want to continue. As I keep looking at the clock, I'm just like, my gosh, it has gone so quickly. Oh my gosh, but this conversation is just outstanding. So, Ms. Rodriguez, I'm going to start with you this time. If you could change one thing about the current school social work system, just one thing, what would it be and why?
If I could change one thing about social work, school social work, it would be reducing caseloads by hiring more school social workers. During my internship at Cobb County, I've seen firsthand overwhelming this workload is. Social workers juggle with crisis intervention, mental health support, resource referrals, advocacy, while trying to build real relationships with students. So, but with such high caseloads, support often feel reactive instead of proactive. So too many students slip through the cracks. More school social workers means more consistent support, stronger mental health programs, and better community connections. Right now, caseloads are too high, leaving students without any attention they deserve. To prioritize students' well-being, we need smaller caseloads and stronger support systems. So every student has an advocate who truly has time to help. So I believe that,
Thank
more.
you. Thank you. And we appreciate you putting it out there like this about the caseloads. Oh, thank you very much. As we experience that and you're seeing firsthand. Okay, Miss Davis, you are up next. If you could
Oh,
change
same
one thing,
question, Dr. RC?
same,
Same
same
question?
question,
Okay.
same question.
Well, then I think I'm going to piggyback off of Miss Rodriguez then. I think I read something recently, like in Georgia, the student to social work ratio is 1 to about 2,475, and that just blew my mind. I can also attest the caseload is immense, immense. And so, in order for social workers to do what they do best, it would really be beneficial if that caseload was lightened, if we could all share the load. Um, just much more smoothly, because that's really the vision that we have for our schools. We want to do our best work. We want to be able to touch every child, help every family. And so right now we're very much so spread thin, and that is one thing that I would change. Um, but yes, it's just all a part of the work, and it's all right, but that would be very helpful.
Thank you so much for your response as well, and just tagging on to that even deeper, taking a deeper dive into it with the combination of both your responses together. Guys, I have a little bit more time. It is time for another commercial break. You know, I have to get that signal. It's time to go to commercial, but I do have a little bit more to share, so don't go away. We will be right back.
Dr. RC will share extraordinary resources and services that promote educational success, as well as making a difference in the lives of all social workers, as well as the lives of children, adolescents, and teens of today. She will have open discussions addressing many of the issues that we face about our youth and how being employed in the uniquely skilled profession of social work for over 18 years has taught invaluable lessons through her personal experiences. She will also provide real-life facts, examples, and personal stories that will confirm that why serving as a child advocate is extremely beneficial when addressing the needs of the whole child. Listen live to Dare to Soar, Saturdays 10 a.m. Eastern on the BBM Global Network, and tune in radio as Dr. RC will provide thought-provoking information that will empower, encourage, and strengthen students, families, and communities across our nation. You can also visit her at soarwithkatie.com.
Welcome back once again on this great Saturday morning. I am here in Georgia, and I say great Saturday morning because the sun is shining. So as we come back, I am Dr. RC. Yes, this is Dare to Soar, coming to you live from the BBM Global Network and Tune In Radio. I tell you, this hour goes by so quickly, but I'm also always exhilarated when I have guests and delving into, the meat of the conversations. Professor Fowler, I want to swing back around to you by asking, what are some ways to bridge the gap between theory and practice in school social work?
Yeah, so bridging that gap again takes me right back to practical training opportunities. Incorporating field-based training and internships into school social work programs, allowing students to kind of work alongside experienced professionals in real school settings so they can actually see theory and practice in action. Um, Utilizing case studies in our coursework that reflect real life situations in schools, and then analyzing these cases, can really help students kind of understand how to apply the theoretical framework and concepts into practice in a real life setting. Also, supervision and mentorship is vitally important when we talk about helping students kind of bridge that gap and understand theory and practice. So implementing those strong supervision and mentor programs for students and new school social workers, experienced, social workers can provide that guidance on applying theories to specific cases and what that should look like, and giving them that real world experience. And then lastly, also, utilizing reflective practice and promoting a culture of reflective practice among school social workers. So really encouraging them to kind of reflect on their experiences. And that'll help them to kind of see the application of the different theories in their work and what that like, and really bridge between theory and practice.
Mm. Thank you so much. Now, I said during the commercial break that I was going to hold the last two questions for you, but I just feel that it is important to tap in a bit more to our students. So I'm going to see how much I can get in within these last few moments that I have. So, Ms. Davis, with that being said, I want to tap back to you, or shift the questioning back to you. How can schools, universities, and policymakers work together to ensure that school social workers are given the necessary resources and support to succeed?
Well, I really appreciate how at the beginning of our segment, Professor Fowler, she named that all of these participating factors are stakeholders, which they are. And so I really believe that I think policymakers, first and foremost, they should prioritize funding for school social work positions, and they should mandate that such mental health supporters need to be in schools. We do so much. We work inside the building as well as outside. And so they play a huge role in passing down legislation that can help support mental health services in schools. And I wish that they would really realize our value within this entity. In schools, I would say I really want to encourage them to and promote them that multidisciplinary collaboration is so important. We, as social workers, we deserve a seat at the table for the decision-making processes. We have a lot of expertise. We have a lot to say. And we speak on behalf of these families and children when maybe some of these other disciplines, they don't see what we see. And so as long as we keep working collaboratively, I think we can really work together and just create an environment and culture where across the nation, especially here in Georgia, school social workers, we can show that we have the tools, and hopefully then we can have the resources so that we can just keep supporting and making a lasting impact on these students' lives.
Thank you. Thank you so much. So I'm going to see how quickly I can go. I have received the 2-minute mark, but briefly, Ms. Rodriguez, can you share what role does mentorship play in preparing future school social workers?
Well, mentorship is key to preparing future social workers. You can learn a lot in class, but nothing compares to guidance for someone who faced real challenges in the field. Social worker isn't just about knowing policies; it's about handling crisis, advocating for students, and building trust with families. And a mentor makes that transition smoother. So during my internship, my supervisor, Patrina Fowler, made a huge impact as both my professor and my mentor. She didn't just teach, she let me see real cases unfold, showing me what worked, what didn't work, and why. That hands on experience gave me confidence and prepared me for the field. So I believe that we need more structured mentorship programs where new social workers can shadow experienced professionals, receive regular guidance, and build rapid support or support network. And peer mentorship can also help connecting recent grads with students that just started out. So at the end of the day, better prepared social workers mean better support for students and creating a stronger system for those who need it most.
Thank you. Thank you so much. And Miss and Professor Fowler, as we look toward the future of school social work, what are your hopes and recommendations for advancing the profession?
Well, I have many, but I know we only have a few minutes. So my first hope, my first hope obviously is to see more school social work positions. We need more positions. We need to be able to really not just put band-aids on bullet wounds and do triage. We need to be able to do the individual work with our students and our families, which obviously leads to us also receiving increased pay because we are worthy. And I tell my students all the time, in any room, I don't care if you're in the bathroom, in the boardroom, wherever you are, we are the experts in that room. Wherever we're standing, we're the expert in that room. Another important aspect is advocating for policy changes that really recognize and support the vital role of school social workers. Greater investment in resources and funding and training opportunities. All of these things can elevate our profession and ensure that school social workers can meet the needs of our students effectively. Again, something I could go on and on and on about. But we, like I said, we're the experts in the room. And if we really focus on all of these areas, we can truly advance the field of school social work and really make a meaningful impact on the lives of students and their families and the community as a whole. We just make everything better.
Yes, I love that. And I'm just going to put a quick plug in that the School Social Workers Association of Georgia has their spring conference coming up next week. It's at the Great Wolf Lodge, and the theme is Bloom in Any Room. And if you can't tell by this conversation how you need to be able to bloom in any room, here are individuals that you can tap into and they will show you how to flourish. Gosh, my time has come to an end. I thank all three of my guests this morning. You all have been absolutely phenomenal. The topic was elevating the future of school social work, bridging academia and practice. Thank you all for tuning in this morning on your Saturday morning. You could have been any place else, but you decided to join me, Dr. RC, and Dare to Soar. Now remember, never be afraid to elevate to new heights as you spread your wings and dare to soar. Have a fantastic rest of your weekend, and thank you so much.
This has been Dare to Soar with your host, Dr. RC. Come take a ride and soar to your highest level possible each week on Dr. RC's Dare to Soar.